Welcome everybody to another not on, that's old school. Microsoft Unboxed
Oh,
Pod. Do you think I would have figured that out after 77 episodes? That's right. We have hit the big 77. I am your host today, Kareem Anderson. I'm joined by.
David Allen. Hope everybody's doing well out there on this Friday before the official holiday season kickoff. So we'll see if we can get you some tech news to go with your turkey next week.
Yeah, and for those of you who might be listening to this out doing stuff, if you're like me, get out there and do your last minute shopping. It's going to be a madhouse. And if it's not, it may be the alternative where it's a barren wasteland. People might have already bought all their stuff, so you want to see if you can get out there as quickly as possible. Hopefully, we're recording this on a Friday. If you can get out there Friday night, start grabbing the things that you need. If you're going to celebrate, for those of you who aren't going to celebrate and do something else, I wish I were you. I wish I didn't have to celebrate necessarily and could just relax and I don't know, play as many video games as possible. We'll get into playtime for the weekend after we cover some news. Let's get you the headlines so that you guys can be abreast about what happened this week in Microsoft world, world in tech. Microsoft Ignite was the big developer conference that happened this week. You might be scratching your head saying, "What? I thought Build wasn't until the spring." Well, this is the other big one, and this is actually, ironically, I think, becoming bigger than Build when it comes to developers, APIs, and what Microsoft's focus is. This is their cloud and security focused developer conference. So a lot of Azure talk, as we'll get into a lot about agentic chatbots and AI and Microsoft 365 and Copilot. All of that big news is coming out, and it's weird because I think now I'm trying to figure out what Build is used for because I think they have a separate Windows event usually in the summer. So who knows? We're also going to be talking about Qualcomm rolling out a Snapdragon control panel and claims of its X Elite X2 Elite X Elite 2 chip and its performance. Needless to say, that it looks like it's going to be a pretty good sign for anybody who's got or thinking about getting a Copilot Plus PC and ditching Intel. You may be in for a smoother landing when it comes to gaming and GPU performance. We also want to talk about how Antitrust has failed us by allowing Meta to continue to keep Instagram and WhatsApp and everything else under its belt by not signaling that it violated antitrust. We're going to get into that, why that's a bad sign, and how maybe we'll come up with some solutions between David and myself on what Congress in the United States could do. Maybe follow some leads from our European allies across the pond. And then the last thing we have some more fun news. We're always trying to end the podcast on a fun note. We got Microsoft holidays, and they're bringing back Fruit Play Days with some new stuff. We got a ton of games that just launched on Game Pass. If you're still sticking around for that, more power to you. There's some games that could make it worth your while, at least for this month, going into the holiday weekend. Maybe this would be something you can try out and play for relatively little amount for right now. With that being said, let me ask my partner, how's he doing? How was his week?
My week was okay. A little better than the week before for those that are aware, but my week was okay. I'm looking forward to trying to enjoy the holidays. Holidays for me is going to be a little different this year, but hopefully going to get some gaming in, some time with the family, some time with my nieces and nephews and brother and sister, and try to take time to find my way through what AI is going to be, what AI is supposed to be, what people think AI is, and what I want AI to be. So I could be pretty busy trying to figure this out.
Yeah, I think you, along with everybody else who's invested in AI, will be all doing the same thing this weekend, scratching heads going, what about this? Nope. What about that? Nope. What about those? Nope. Okay, back to this. With that being said, let's get into our news about the Microsoft Ignite recap. I think you specifically had something pointed out that you wanted to talk about.
Well, I'm going to try to shorten this up a little bit. You wrote up a wonderful post here that was roughly 4 to 5 paragraphs about Windows possibly becoming a new agentic operating system. And you started it out by saying Windows is evolving from an operating system into an agentic work platform. What reads like an array of discrete features is is in fact a single bot that encompasses oh, my screen blinked. Sorry about that.
No worries.
A single bot that enterprises will accept deeper governed AI endpoints. And I kind of agree with your point here. I'm kind of going to put this together. Do enterprises, do companies, do individuals want an AI agentic powered operating system? And
That's a loaded question.
I think there's a yes and no to that. Yes, if you possibly understand what AI is and you trust that AI is going to function and be correct. No, if you see it otherwise. And I'll kind of explain that, and you can kind of help me explain that. What we were talking about off mic was, let's take a business, for example. Today's Friday. Today's Friday when we are recording this. Okay, a lot of people like to kick off work early on Fridays, myself included, and get your weekend started early. So, if you've got an agentic operating system and you say, look, I want to get all my phone calls in by 12, I want to get all imported emails answered before 3, because at 3:30, I'm out. If you can trust AI to do that and to get it correct each and every time, then yes, I could see where people would want an agentic operating system, because you have built trust in that AI and you know that it's going to get these things done for you before 3:30 on Friday afternoon. But if you're kind of like me, I don't completely trust it. I enjoy it. I use it as a resource. It is convenient. I'm glad I have it, but I don't trust it. So if I have to go back into my Outlook and make sure that all my meetings and all my phone calls are scheduled before 3:30, even though I told AI to do it, if I have to do it myself, then maybe I'm not interested in that agentic operating system, because if I have to check it, I might as well do it myself. And that's kind of the way I feel about AI right now, because it does hallucinate in deeper queries, depending on what you're talking about. It does lose track of conversations quickly in some things. I'm just not sure that businesses want it. And I'm certainly not sure consumers want it, because guess what? Consumers will use the lack of AI correctness and as an excuse. And I think that's where you find a problem. You can't be using, well, AI got it wrong, so I didn't pay my light bill on time, or AI got it wrong, so I didn't do this right on time. I don't think that's going to work out very well.
You're absolutely correct. I think you summed it up pretty well. I don't want to retread over anything, but it's we're hitting the water against the cliffs kind of issue right now with AI. We were riding a big wave, and now we're crashing against the cliff where the novelty's over. People are understanding that this thing that we call AI isn't what we've been sold on, the perception of AI over years. And now businesses are trying to figure out, or at least those who invested in AI, how do we pivot and change the narrative quickly enough so that we can retain our investments and survive this shift in perception. I say all that to kind of narrow this down. Think about what we've been sold, at least as far as media is concerned. AI is a thing that kind of runs on its own. It does its own thing. You see, usually in a computer scenario or a piece of software, the person never really had to prompt AI. It would just talk to or interact with, engage with, and it would do its own thing. You can put AI in a robot, send it off, it does its own thing. You put AI in a computer, and the person in the room with the computer is talking to the thing, but it's unprompted question and answer. It's like a discussion that we're having currently with you guys. You would listen and then respond. We would listen and then respond in kind. And we're getting new input as we discuss. That's not what the AI, when they came out of the box, Microsoft because we talk about Microsoft, we're going to pin it on them. Want to make Google dance and all that stuff. What they delivered to us was an advanced version of Cortana, Google Assistant, and Siri. These were things that you prompted, but now they have the intelligence of the entire internet. Before they had whatever Microsoft could train it on, whatever Google could train it on. Google had the advantage because it had most of the internet, but it was restricted in what it could deliver. Apple didn't have very much, but it could train based on what it knew from its users. And this is why some of those early digital assistants failed. We had to engage, prompt, and then check up on. And a lot of the times it was wrong. It was too clumsy, too clunky, became a waste of time. And it was always voice operated. So everyone kind of put those aside and said, all right, the novelty of digital assistants are over. Now they came back with AI, and AI can be type to, talk to, grab visuals. It can do a lot more, but it's all prompted. These aren't things that are just automatically running on your phone, automatically running on your computer, automatically running in your house. These are things you have to say, do this thing. It's like, when you have a child and you tell it, hey, go clean your room. And it goes and it picks up, maybe a couple of pairs of underwear, but the bed's not made. There's toothpaste in the window for some reason. There's gum on the floor, and you're like, what did you do? And it's like, well, you told me to clean up. I picked up the underwear. And it's like, well, okay, if this is the case, get out of the room. I'll clean it myself. That's what we're doing with AI here. You tell it, hey, you help me with this research paper, and you find out it pulled, sources from, things that aren't verified. And now your entire research paper has to be redone because the sources that you thought were reliable, you have to go check and make sure. And you're like, all right, well, you've just wasted my time. I could have done this myself. And now I have to do it myself. Get out of the way. And so now I think companies are realizing people are kind of drifting away from that, not willing to pay for that kind of thing. And they're saying they want, we're going to make agentic. We're going to have it kind of do things on your behalf. The problem with, as David pointed out, is that, again, we don't trust it now that we've been introduced to the earlier version of AI, which was the earlier version of digital assistant. Are you going to trust something on your computer doing things on your behalf when you couldn't trust it to just go search the internet, grab a source that was valid, and give it back to you? Now you're saying, hey, now you can start running my data lake stuff. You can start, incorporating the visuals, putting together an entire report that I have to go deliver to my CFO, my CEO, my client who's paying me money. And when I'm standing there reading over the numbers and the visuals that you gave me, and I find out in the middle of my presentation that these are wrong, it's like, well, okay, you're not the AI that I thought you were. You're not the AI on the computer that could just go do the thing and I could trust it to do it. So I think to your earlier question, I think businesses are definitely ready for it because they need to now start saying, hey, here's how we're making money on this thing. People on the other hand are very hesitant because it's not what we thought it was going to be. And now it's becoming more of a burden, both for the user and for the environment. We're starting to hear stories about these data centers that are kind of ruining areas by, boiling all the water in the area, spitting out, pollutants and raising the electrical costs. If you noticed your electricity going up, it's not your fault. You're not using more. The data center that's near you is now, being used, and the companies are saying, hey, we're all going to chip in to help out this data center. You're like, well, I didn't ask for it, but that's kind of what's going on.
I just want to ask you:
Yeah,
have you ever found toothpaste on your windows?
I have two kids, so yes.
I just found that interesting. That you went down that road. I says, well, this nice little break here. I wonder if he's ever found toothpaste on his windows.
This is most of the things I talk about are based in reality, and that is the reality I have as a parent of children under 10 years old. You find the weirdest things in the weirdest places at the weirdest times. We also had some more news. We do want to note that this is the first Ignite in, I want to say, 7 years or so, that Satya Nadella did not kick it off. We had Judson Althoff, I think, Althoff. I apologize if I mispronounced that. Who is the CEO of Microsoft's commercial business. This is kind of Satya Nadella stepping back, pulling a Jeff Bezos. For all of us who still perceive Jeff Bezos with Amazon, that's for a reason. But he is no longer the CEO of Amazon. I forget the name of the gentleman who's running it day to day. So I think this is going to be that kind of transition where Satya Nadella steps back a lot from the limelight of things. He may show up every now and then, kind of like in a Stan Lee-esque, in a Stan Lee MCU kind of way, where hey,
Mhm.
he's got a cameo, but he's starting to hand off these presentations, this day to day, this explaining to people who were in the trenches. And I think Jetson did a pretty decent job. I actually think he was a little more lively than Satya, and he didn't say the word quantum so many times, so he never lost me. I was there for each thing that he had to talk about.
I'm gonna have to agree. With one of our fellow media members, Paul Thurrott, made a good comment earlier this week. That he was glad that the presentation was not as dry as it normally is. That there was some energy there. There was some purpose. And it wasn't just a read the script type thing. And he brought up a good point. He said maybe Sasha is great behind the camera, keeping Microsoft rolling in the right direction, accomplishing their goals, but maybe he's not the presenter that they need him to be. So, I watched it with you. I thought it was much better than what we had seen in the past. Not perfect, but certainly didn't bore me to sleep at times. So
Yeah, I
maybe
mean,
Sasha just needs to stay in the office for some of these events.
yeah, we're going to try not to keep it as boring or as dry as some of the things were, but we are going to go over some details so that you're fully informed. During the presentation, we got mention of Agent 365. This is Microsoft's new Commander Center for enterprise AI. It lets teams deploy, monitor, and govern agents across organizations. So again, uh, they're saying you won't have to watch. They will have their own platform to kind of make sure that none of your agents get out of control and start doing some stuff. So there's a way to do that. You'll have a dashboard for any IT admins to kind of say, hey, the agent you set up is going rogue. Let me shut it down. There are guardrails to shut down or throttle agents if they misbehave. So there you go. Compliance and audit features, which matter for regulations and finance and healthcare. So again, you're not having things go too awry. So for those of you who are again questioning the security and the validity, you can set up your own specifically in this dashboard. This Work IQ, this is they had a presentation. I think someone was talking on their iPhone about this thing, but basically this is like the personalization brain inside Microsoft 365 Copilot. It builds a contextual map of how you work, and you can highlight. Um, it learns your preferences, like how you structure documents or manage emails. It adapts to organizational knowledge, so Copilot can answer questions with a company's specific context. It reduces repetitive prompts, anticipating what you need. Again, this is going more towards what we were just talking about as far as uh, AI doing its own thing unprompted. So ideally, this thing will learn from you and be able to kind of work on your behalf. Again, if you are the kind of person who sends GIFs in emails, just to kind of lighten the mood or the messaging, it'll eventually maybe adopt that and then hopefully pick the right ones so that you, again, when you send off an email, you can just type in, hey, this is what I'm thinking about sending back. And then it will write up the whole thing, send the GIF out, and people will be like, hey, I couldn't tell if it was you or your AI that did that. There's Copilot everywhere, which this is like the big thing. Obviously, this is the driver. Microsoft is embedding agents models into Word, Excel, PowerPoint, Outlook, and Teams. There's co-authoring in Word for long-form documents with AI that understands tone and structure, which again, very important, so that you don't get a lot of random M dashes and a lot of cynicism. I know that AI can be cynical sometimes when it writes up stuff, and you're like, hey, can you write me something or give me some brainstorm ideas for this? And it's like, oh, the world sucks and everyone's garbage. You're like, whoa, slow down. We're just talking about holiday gift giving ideas. In Excel, agents can then build out models, not just formulas, and explain them, which is great because I am not an Excel wizard. So if I
Yeah.
can, yeah, if I can get it to explain what it shows me, then I can explain it to somebody else. That might save me some time. PowerPoint auto generates decks with narrative flow and design polish. I've tried this. It's a little hit and miss, but hopefully, as the Work IQ works like it's suggested to be, it'll figure out my design and the way I structure things, and then mimic that and kind of add to that as well. And then Teams agents that can summarize, assign tasks, and follow up automatically. That's I think that's the biggest driver. I think that's what's unfortunately killing middle management to a certain extent. But these are the tools. This whole summarizing and assigning tasks and following up stuff. That's the biggest draw for AI, I think, currently. Hopefully, we'll find more as time goes on. There's Windows 365 agents, cloud PCs tuned for running AI agents securely. enterprises can spin up agents in agent-ready environments without touching local hardware. So again, that's good. Going to be great for anything that's going to be, usually cloud-based. Sandboxing ensures agents don't leak data or cross boundaries. Optimized for computer use agents that need to interact with apps or browsers like CRMs. So again, you can kind of create your own thing within inside of these virtualized areas and then run them off that. There's Azure Horizon DB. This is something that they've kind of talked about over the past few years, but there's a new how do you say POSTGRE skill compatible database for secure scale out workloads. There handles time series and operational data at massive scale, designed for AI agents that need fast concurrent access to structured data, compatibility with existing procedural tooling lowers adoption friction. Cobalt 200 CPUs. There's lower power consumption compared to x86 versions of this, which hopefully, as we're talking about the carbon footprint that these data centers are setting down, this will help cut some of that and mitigate that. Ideally, bring down the cost for everybody, especially those of us in the local area that aren't necessarily using as much AI as our electricity bills would indicate. There's optimized for AI interfaces and workloads. There's Fabric IQ, for those of you who are interested in that. It's a semantic model that unifies different types of data, brings together time series, geospatial, and operational data under one reasoning layer. It also makes it easier for agents to query across data sets without stitching pipelines, integrates with Microsoft Fabric and the data platform. I didn't even know Microsoft had a thing called Microsoft Fabric. For those of you who are out there who do know that, maybe you can go try an early preview of what this is, I believe. There's security Copilot expansions. There's 12 special agents for threat detection, incident response, and compliance. It automates triage of alerts, reducing analyst fatigue. So you can kind of say, hey, if it reaches this threshold, don't alert me. If it goes beyond that, and these other 3 things or 4 things happen, now you can reach me. And if you want to reach me, you can reach me via, text prompt, alert notification in email, or something on my screen. It integrates with Defender and Sentinel for end-to-end coverage. There's the Anthropic models. That was also big news that came out of Ignite, which was Anthropic kind of investing with, I think, Microsoft into NVIDIA chips, and then going further and beyond their initial. I think we've been reporting on the last 2 months of Anthropic kind of jumping in to supplement some of the productivity stuff. But customers can choose between OpenAI and Anthropic models depending on needs. Anthropic's cloud models are known for their safety and reasoning, so they're a little bit more reliable to use if you're going to be using some productivity software or enterprise software like Power BI and stuff. This kind of diversifies Microsoft's AI platform. I think a lot of people are actually going to probably flip the switch on that, especially the way that OpenAI keeps having to introduce and then reintroduce their ChatGPT models because of issues, testing or whatever. Last bit, we got a Frontier Firm Initiative. It's a partnership with Harvard's Digital Data Design Institute. It's researching how human and AI collaboration changes organizational structures, frameworks for executives to transform into frontier firms that can fully leverage AI, and case studies and playbooks for adoption at scale. This is basically just a lot of reporting that we should start getting out to get a little more transparency into how people are using AI. There's these test stories, the failures, things like that. So, they won't just be like, hey, here's AI in it, and investors throw billions of dollars into it. It's like, no, here's what people did with AI over the last 2 years, and these are the results we're seeing. So now you can be a little more particular with, one, what you download, adopt, and incorporate into your business. And 2, if you're an investor, like, hey, I just read these reports. It's, this market, this sector, this version of AI going into it has been a no-no. Let's take our money, pull it, or let's put it into this version. So that was Ignite in a nutshell. Give me a break. What do you want to talk about?
Well, I want to kind of throw this out there. As I was listening to you talk, we cover this, we read this. This is what we do every day. But I have a question for those watching and those listening. How many people walk away confused? Serious question, not making fun of anybody. How many people walk away confused? Not at what you said, not at how you presented it, but how many people look at AI and go, Well, what do I need? What part do I need? What service do I need? What do I need to develop? What do I need to make? I sense that, part of Ignite is Microsoft providing tools to make things happen. I get that. I follow that. I understand that. But as a business owner, what do people need? How do businesses know that this is the model that I need? And I feel like Mr. Business Owner, Mr. CEO, there may be things out there that can help him or her in their business, but do they know what it is? Do they know that when they buy Office 365 for business and they're distributing their licensing accordingly, do they know that, hey, if I buy this with my subscription, this will help my sales team, this will help my accounting team? I can create this model. And this is kind of where I have struggled with, kind of the way this is felt for me since AI really kicked in. Is there's so many models, there's so many choices, there's so many doors in. Nobody has said, look, this is how you use it. This is what you do. This is what you need to purchase. It's kind of like I look at Microsoft Office. I know I need to create documents. I know I need to create Excel spreadsheets. I know that I need to go purchase Microsoft Office 365. I know that I want to have Microsoft email. I know that I need Outlook. But when I look at this, AI is wonderful. AI is great. It has done good things for me. But when I look at all these options that everybody keeps throwing out there, I saw one from Adobe yesterday called Nana Banana. That's their latest model, is Nana Banana. Now, how am I supposed to look at that name and know what the heck it does? How am I supposed to look at ChatGPT 5.1 alpha, beta, et cetera, and know what it does? We're upset that investors aren't seeing return. As you were talking about this story, I'm looking at the vocabulary, I'm looking at the wording. Maybe we need to simplify this a little bit to where Mr. and Mrs. CEO can say, look, yes, this is the product that my company needs. These are the features that my company needs. And then we get the return on investment. I kind of went off left field there, but it kept poking, it was like the little devil over here on my shoulder. It just kept poking me like, okay, I understand what he's saying. We cover this. But how many business owners out there that are considering AI or even understanding any of it, much less have time to figure it out?
Well, in Microsoft's defense, and this is a very weak defense, they operate in two forms and only really well in one. The way that and this is why they're constantly every summer firing their sales and marketing teams, because they're having, to your point, they're having trouble addressing this. And it's because the market that they're trying to go after, the market that they've had their bread and butter is enterprise, which means that it comes with a dedicated team that they can charge to tell you and walk you through this. And that your contact person is an admin person that you pay on your end that learns this stuff. It's kind of like what Google does, where, if you're doing marketing with Google, they'll have contact people you can talk to. But these contact people need to talk to someone who specializes in search, paid search or paid SEO. They won't talk to the CFO, CEO because they're very technical. The way Microsoft is designed, Windows licensing and all of their features for, Microsoft 365, Power BI, Office, things like that, is to have a sales team that talks to your admin team that then tells you, and your admin guy is your go-between. He's the person that says, hey, our competitors are using this. We need this thing. And Microsoft's sales team will come in and tell him, hey, here are all the new features to make you better than your competitor. Then your IT guy goes and tells your competitor. That all works. And if it works well, that's Microsoft's bread and butter. The problem is there are a lot of people that Google is now capturing, which are the small businesses that don't, they know they need productivity software because that's how they run their business, keep their books in order, do shipping, do marketing, all that stuff, but they're doing it on their own. So they don't have a dedicated IT guy. So all that stuff that we just talked about is jibber jabbish to them because they know Office, they know what Word, Excel, PowerPoint, they might even know what Power BI is, but they don't know all of the things we just talked about that could help them because they don't have an IT guy dedicated to that,
Bingo.
and they're not going to pay for one, which means Microsoft's not talking to them even in their own marketing because the marketing is made for an IT guy. He's going to pick up on like, hey, Microsoft just said this in their blog post that I was following, boss. And I think we should incorporate it. Without that guy there, all that conversation goes right over his head. And I think to your point, that's, even simplifying it, I don't think is going to help Microsoft because they're not aiming for that. They're aiming for the Fortune 500 company that has dedicated admin team and staff that can invest in that because that's where the money's at. The mom and pop businesses that could use this if they knew how to do it, they don't make enough for them to be like, hey, it's nice that you want to use our product and you can pay for it on your own. But if we can't give you a dedicated team, if you can't pay for, 2 years of dedicated sales team help, who are you to us? We don't necessarily need you. Go use Google stuff. I'm not saying that's what they're saying, but that's, in effect, that's what's happening, unfortunately. Yeah. Microsoft needs to change that and understand like, hey, there is a world out there. And again, this is mostly speaking to AI. They don't know how to market AI. All the other stuff they can probably market. Microsoft 365, they need to make commercials about that speak to the average person, not to just the business. Like, hey, mom and pop, if you are starting a restaurant, if you are starting your own business out of Etsy, if you're starting, daycare, whatever you're doing, here's how all of some of these features can work for you. Not just, hey, here's a company that has 1,000 employees to 10,000 employees that can pay us $20,000 every year to walk them through all of these features, and they're going to get the most out of it because they know all of the tricks and all of the tricks and tips and things of that nature. That's Microsoft's, fault to, and I don't say that as a fault as a consumer because they're making hand over fist money. So something's working for them. But I agree to your point. Even simplifying it, they're just attacking the wrong vector at this point. But let's move on. We got some gaming news coming up a little bit.
Yeah,
and that's
go ahead.
Oh, I was going to say
I was just going to say that would make the transition to something a little more mind simple.
Yes, this is something that we can explain to you guys. Qualcomm has released a control panel. And then for those of you who are like, that still doesn't make any sense to me, picture Steam gaming. That is essentially what you're getting. You're going to get a new thing for anybody who's got a Snapdragon powered PC. You're going to get a new dashboard that will allow you to show you, or at least show you, which games are compatible and which games you can install and play from in the dashboard. If that's hard for you to think Game Pass. If you're on a Qualcomm PC, you will now have a dashboard that will gather up all your gaming info, GPUs, compatibility, frame rates, all that kind of stuff in one dash area, and it'll allow you to see that. If you don't want to use Game Pass, if you don't want to jump between Steam, EA, or any of these other things, if you can. Again, the whole point was before this, a lot of that wasn't necessary because you couldn't really game on these things. There's been, I think this is the second or third round of GPU updates for Qualcomm PCs. It just happened, I want to say last month, if I'm not mistaken. If you can grab that and you get this new control panel, you get a new experience, and it'll put all your games in one screen that can be played, that can be downloaded, that are compatible with this thing. It's just another step for Qualcomm to say, hey, we didn't just put out a chip that can do productivity at a low performance rate. We were thinking about gaming, and I think they mentioned in their back in September when they announced the X2 Elite chip that GPU performance was big on their list, and this is just kind of furthering that. What are your thoughts on this control panel? Have you had a chance to try it out yet? Because
I haven't had a chance to try it out yet, but I've got it on my weekend list to try out. Everybody's got a control panel these days, Microsoft, or control panel / launcher. Microsoft has got theirs. Now Qualcomm has got theirs. and everybody's aggregating the titles together to get information, and that's kind of what's going on here. I'm interested to see what a Qualcomm GPU can do. In my testing with video software and video editing, if it's Qualcomm native, it does pretty good. Now, it's going to be interesting, as always. I saw in your post and from doing some reading on my own that Microsoft has made significant updates to the Prism model to make this work. And the libraries are available now to help you with some of the anti-cheat software that is out there that you originally could not run at all on Qualcomm chips. So I'm interested to see, one, I have a vast list of games. So I'm interested, are my games from 0 to 1 year compatible? Or are my games from 1 year to 3 year compatible? Or am I at the 3 to 5 year? So because it's great that a Qualcomm GPU can game. That's wonderful. But I hate it for you. If it can't do AAA titles, the interest drops right off. The interest is going to fall right off in making the purchase to get that Qualcomm-based laptop or desktop. The interest will fall right off. Now, for people like myself that don't mind picking up the more simpler titles sometimes just to kill some time or relax the brain a little bit, hey, that'll be great. I would love to play those titles. But as far as somebody looking at it on the Best Buy store shelf or Newegg or Amazon, it kind of goes back to the economy that we're in. People are looking at all-in-one machine to do a lot of things. If it can't do Call of Duty at 60 frames a second, probably not going to be interested yet.
Yeah, no, I totally agree with you. We'll have to see what the X Elite 2 does. I just find this, device a little more appealing
I agree.
when it comes to gaming. Now, the GPU performance obviously is only capped at a certain amount for these current X Elite ones. So if you're running out thinking like, all right, I can finally do Photoshop without any problems or Premiere mostly, not the case. It might do a little bit better when scrubbing through, but not very much. So don't expect that. Apparently, the X Elite 2 is going to be addressing a lot of those issues. This is basically kind of helping those of us who might be fans of casual games that couldn't play any of those on this, not only just from a performance standpoint, but from a download standpoint. We had no support for it, with the anti-cheats as well. So my barometer for playing or having a computer that I can say, hey, this is an all-encompassing one, is being able to play Marvel Snap. It is a very super casual game, could be played on the phone, but it is very resource intensive. And even when I launch it on a Mac or a Mac like an M2, those fans blast. I don't know what it is about this game, but it will heat up a phone, it will blast a computer, and sure enough, it'll blast the Snapdragon, but it'll at least play. It didn't play before. Now it'll at least play on this, and it plays well. I mean, I can get 60 frames per second. It's a card game, so not necessarily the best indicator, but like I said, for me personally, my own anecdotal experience, and I know everyone else has their own barometer of game that they're going to be like, hey, if this one game is on here, I could take this PC on a road trip. I could take it, traveling. This is, I can finally, put aside whatever thing that was holding on to in addition to this, and be like, this is my one thing. This is my laptop. This is the go to from now on. And hopefully, with this control panel, you might find it. So go ahead and try it out this weekend. If you happen to be privileged enough to have a Copilot Plus PC. For those of you who don't, just keep your eye on the pulse. Keep your eyes on the news because I think end of January, after CES or whatever, we might start seeing updated versions of these laptops and tablet PCs, whatever, coming out with the new chips in it. So if you're in the market for perhaps buying one, wait until after January to see what they have. But at least this control panel is a good sign that they didn't just say, hey, here's the what was it, the Snapdragon X, whatever, X2 chip, whatever, and here it is, and that's the best we can do, and good luck next year. They seem to be working tirelessly on this. Moving on to less fun gaming news, or less fun news in general, we got an antitrust talk. This happened this week, beginning of this week. The FTC and the United States government kind of just threw their hands up and said, all right, Meta, you won. And I think for those of you who have been keeping up, obviously you are, if you're a fan of this podcast or this type of news, you probably saw all the hot takes, and most of them are in line with what we're saying here is that we've been failed by antitrust. I wrote a pretty scathing piece about this because, we've been watching companies kind of get a slap on the wrist for the most part, even when it's in the billions. These companies generate billions per quarter, and over decades of egregious behavior, they're slapped with maybe a tenth of what they should be paying or their ramifications. This time around, Judge James E. Boasberg decided that Meta did not illegally create or maintain a monopoly, um, and that the decision highlights the gap between statutes built to measure price hikes and market shares and digital platforms that dominate free services, and network effects and data lock-in. Where the problem is that it wasn't that Boasberg didn't understand what Meta was doing. It was that he was bound by our current regulatory bodies to say, hey, by the definition of what we currently have is what we consider antitrust, they didn't break it. Again, I think, I don't know his exact quotes, but he acknowledged that, again, the incumbent has an insurmountable structural advantage. So he's acknowledging that Facebook, you know, has the advantage. It's just that our current laws are struggling to deal with how to address this. And I think this is going back to legislators who are, ideally a bit younger, using these things on a daily basis and understand how they're evolving, where they might be heading towards, versus for our older legislators who don't even bother with it, or maybe only dip their toes in some of these technologies every now and then. So, what are your thoughts on, Meta, who I think this case was brought about 5 years ago, now 5 years later being found like, hey, having WhatsApp, having Instagram, but buying your way out of competition is not antitrust or not a monopoly.
It's called using the system to your advantage. And that is exactly what they did. And I don't fault them for it because everybody else is going to do it. That's,
You're right.
if there's a way, you go back to your academic days. If there's a way to get an A on a test and cut a corner, every kid was going to do it once the first kid found the way and it was okay. And that's kind of what Meta has done here. I fault our justice system for not keeping up with things that they rule on and laws and regulations that we make. It's our fault. It's the regulators' fault. Meta did nothing wrong. I don't like what Meta does all the time. I don't approve of what they do. I don't approve of what Microsoft or Google do all the time either. But they use the system to their advantage. That's all there is to it.
Yeah, no, you're absolutely correct. And I wanted to talk about this in the broader context of legislation going forward. I think there's been a slew of uh, pro AI legislations kind of making their way through different state legislatures and trying to make I think, a federal ban on banning AI in general or regulating it to a certain degree. And that's all a part of lobbying and it's a whole political structure. But the idea that we're going to put up a ban on regulating AI is just another one of these things where if AI gets out of control, we won't have the tools in place at the time that we need them in order to address it, which again, I think is indicative of what we just saw with this ruling. I think, as much as I have used products from Meta, Messenger and Instagram and WhatsApp, things like that, I think, they probably should be broken up. Same with Microsoft.
Yeah.
Perhaps Microsoft's Office business should be its own thing and yank gaming out of there and let it be its own thing. Let it stand and fight on its own. And maybe we get better hardware. Maybe because they realize they can't subsidize Xbox anymore, that they actually take it serious. These are the things that happen when you pull apart and have things, again, work in this capitalist market, this free market. People fight for it. When they fight for it, sometimes they win and they come up with the greatest things, and sometimes they lose, and that's unfortunate. But that's the way the world works.
That's why they
So
have these things called DBAs. Doing business as.
mhm.
Everybody creates one name and does 12 things under that one name because it's okay to do. Well, if you're let's take Microsoft, for example, Office 365 cloud business, that sells well. Xbox not doing so well. Well, we'll just rob a little bit of Peter's money over here on Office 365 to pay Paul over here at Xbox, and nobody will ever know the difference. And in the end, consumers pay for that, as you mentioned. Consumers pay for that, and there are those out there that say, well, if you break something up or you break Office off, what if Office can't make it on their own? I won't have my Office 365 that runs my business. Well, what if you don't? I hate to be that guy, but what if you don't? What will you find that works for you? Somebody will fill the gap of something missing. It always happens. If there's money to be made, someone will fill the gap for every product that goes away. Just the way I've always seen it work. If Office goes away, then these Libra offices, these third-party ones, somebody will step up and fill that gap. If Xbox goes away, somebody will step up and fill that gap. Steam may be trying to do that right now. They may sense that something, is coming. They've introduced, we're getting Steam machines next year. So I would be okay with some of this stuff being broken up, and it would chart a different path. But what if that path's not a bad thing?
Yeah, it's perfect. I think you summed it up pretty well. We can move on to our next topic and our last one, which is in the gaming section. It's holiday deals and free play. I know these are
Yep.
your bread and butter.
Yep, we've got some good holiday deals, and maybe this is indicative of Microsoft sensing that some of the Game Pass subscribers have gone away and have gone over to PS5 or gone away from console gaming altogether, and maybe gone to PC gaming or handhelds, which are PCs. But we've got over 2,000 titles on sale for Black Friday, and that is going from, let's see, I did put the date here. I thought I had it highlighted. Let me see. It started yesterday and goes through December the 12th. So you can, they've kind of extended it out. You can also get a controller with free engraving from November 27th to December 12th as well. So you can, if you're looking for, you want that controller to have your initials on it, or the fact that you support a certain sports team, or you want to get a gift for somebody that says, Merry Christmas and the year on the controller, you can do that. The engraving is free with purchase of controller. And last but not least, I will throw this out there. We do this every year, but this year it's kind of got a little bit of a laughter to it. Game Pass. Never had it? $1. Jump in, grab a month. Next month, $30. But just be prepared. You can jump in there if you've never tried it, get that first month for $1 and see if it's worth your $30 if you want the Game Pass Ultimate. And just to go over some of the quick deals that I know people like, 50% off Madden 26, 50% off NBA 2K26. We've got 15% off Battlefield 6. We've got 20% off Borderlands 4 and 20% off Ready or Not. Ready or Not is one that's not quite as popular as some of the others, but I personally have Ready or Not. If you're a fan of the tactical shooters, go check that one out. Just as a reminder, you can get these on Xbox.com. You can get them right on your Xbox console. You can download them right from the start. But 2,000 games, got a lot to pick through there. There'll be something there that everybody likes or that everybody wants. Make sure you check those out.
Yeah, I don't have too much to add to that, except it's a benefit to trying this out. It's $29 less than what you're going to be paying for month over month. So now's a good time to try it out. See if you're going to, maybe get your money's worth. If there's a game or a series of games, not just one, but a series of games in there that you like, that'll make it worth your while to pay that. I'm going to be trying out, I believe, what was it called? Revenge of the Strange Planet, if I'm not mistaken, or something like that. It's a new game on Xbox. And I'm gonna see if I can get my money's worth playing that over the holiday weekend. But for those of anybody else looking out there, the 2K series are pretty good.
Yeah.
Pretty good deal to get if you can get a chance. We'll see if Microsoft can lure some people back into the camp of goodwill with this. If not, what else do we have? We got free play days, right? Here's something else they can
Yeah,
try and do this
we've got
weekend.
some free play days while I grab a sip of water. Give me just a minute. But we've
Yeah,
got,
of course.
I
We got
believe we've got
nowhere.
6 titles. One, two,
Yeah.
three. Yep, we've got 6 titles this week. And we've got some for folks that are not Game Pass members. So I find that interesting that we have kind of thrown them in there for everybody else to have something to play that aren't Game Pass members, but I have it right here. We'll go over it. Let's see. Where did my mouse go? There it is. Got it. Okay. So there's plenty to explore this weekend for free play days with a total of 6 titles. Some that I have personally played, but I wanted to throw those out there. We've got Nowhere Profit. We've got One Piece Pirate Wars 5. We've got For the King 2. And for the Xbox members with no membership, we've got Wingate. We've got Police Simulator, Police Officers, and Expeditions, a Mud Runner game. Now, some of these I haven't really heard of, but I thought, hey, police officers, that might be interesting. The Mud Runner game might be interesting. Wingate, I think I'm going to check that out. And as I always like to say, just to kind of remind folks while we're on the idea of deals, Free Play Days has discounts every week. So if you find something you like, jump in there, get that discount. For example, let me just throw one out there here. You've got Nowhere Profit is just $7.49. You've got, let's see, Wingate is just $39.99. The Police Patrol Simulator is just $23.99. And what I like about Free Play Days, I know you guys kind of bump me with some emails or some messages on social media if I don't get these up, and I appreciate that. But what I kind of like about these, you see a lot of these independent publishers involved here. You don't see, 2K every week. You don't see EA every week. You kind of see these smaller title games that you might not always pay for it all, or you might not pay full price for them. But the fact that they're up for free play days, you download them and you give them a chance, and you end up throwing an independent company $20. $20 to these independent companies is a big deal. It might not mean anything to EA for Madden or 2K for NBA 2K26 or EA for Battlefield 6. But these smaller titles that are less known, give them a try. Sometimes they're pretty good. I admit, I have probably spent a couple $100 this year just buying some of these smaller titles that I have tried on free play days that end up being pretty good that I want to go back and play Monday after free play days are over, Tuesday after free play days are over. And sometimes, it's worth the $20 just to support these smaller developers and these smaller publishers. Don't forget that these guys are out there. This is part of Xbox that I appreciate. They could very easily rotate Call of Duty, Battlefield, 2K26, Madden, and they could stick with the big publishers and just throw them out there for free play days. But one thing Microsoft is doing well is I notice a consistency of the AA titles or even some of the single A titles, and they end up being pretty good. So I do applaud Microsoft for what they've been putting in free play days really over the last few months. It's been pretty good.
I was just noticing we had the shot of this police simulator, and it reminded me of what I guess Grand Theft Auto looks like from the cop's perspective.
Yeah, it does, doesn't
That's
it?
what it reminds me of. Yeah, except I remember, and I don't know about yourself, but I remember the cops being a little more active in the in the active gameplay
Yeah.
of GTA, right? So I'm wondering, could you do something crazy like that? I guess in the
What?
simulator. I'm going to give it a shot this weekend and see, because they go nuts in that game. So I
Yeah,
may give it a shot in
that's
addition
one I'm gonna
to
try.
yeah, right. What else I'm playing, man? Because they're running over people, they're shooting through stuff just to get to to the bad guy. I'm gonna see if the qualified immunity works in this game as well. With that being said, where can people find you, my friend, and what could they be doing or hanging out with you this weekend?
David PAJ 1978 over on Blue Sky. I'm going to try out some of these free play titles this weekend. I think I actually night before last decided to come in to the media room here, game room, and give Black Ops 7 a try. It was okay, so I think I may see if I can go a little further with that. But I think the police simulator is going to get a bit of my time this weekend. There's just something about that I just want to try out. What about
Yeah.
you? I know you've got two kids and it's holiday time, so are you busy holidaying this weekend, or are you gonna have some time to game?
I'm going to be busy this weekend. We have my youngest daughter just had her birthday a couple weeks ago, and we'd promised her that as part of the celebration, we'd head up to Disney. So I'm going to be doing that. I'll be at Disney this weekend. We also need to,
Well,
as a
hey, I'll
family,
take that over gaming.
right? We're going to be watching. My wife's a huge Wizard of Oz slash Wicked fan, so we got to go watch the movie tomorrow night. So I'll be doing that. Maybe Sunday after we get back, Sunday evening-ish, as we all calm down, do some laundry, and get ready for the week, which I think should be a short week for those of us here in the U.S.
Mhm.
Because of the holiday. I might be able to get some gameplay going. I think I'd mentioned that this will be the game that I'm looking forward to. This you can play this on Game Pass. Those of you, again, we want to make sure that we're fair. I'm also tempted to just buy it for $20 on Steam, I think it is. It's called Revenge of the Savage Planet. It's kind of like if you took uh, No Man's Sky or what was the other one? What was the Starlight? What was the Xbox version? Starfield.
Starfield.
If you took Starfield and you added a little comedy to it, so and a little more action, I suppose. You're basically, and it's a funny premise. You're basically two people. It's a co-op as well. You could, scour a planet with a friend. Sit on the couch and play with a friend, or you can play online as well with a friend and kind of go about and capture things and build up, areas in the space or whatever. So if you're looking for kind of it looks graphic, it looks beautiful, but also something fun and funny to play with your friends, I would suggest doing that. I will be, if you're looking to talk to me, hang out with me, or whatever, I'm going to be online at Happy Hulk at Blue Sky and Kareem Anderson on Threads. We want to thank you guys for joining us for another week
Yes.
of Microsoft news. We hope you guys enjoy the holiday. If you're not celebrating the holiday, if you're doing something else, or if you're uh, uh, in another country or something, enjoy whatever it is you're going to be doing over the next few days. Again, if it's cooking, hanging out, playing, maybe, those of you who like to play dominoes, maybe you don't do anything digital. Maybe it's all analog. Maybe you just go listen to a record, make some steam pressed coffee or boil your own tea leaves. Whatever it is, enjoy it to its fullest. Because, in this world, enjoyment's fleeting. We want to see you guys next week. We don't
No,
know. It's
we,
probably slow.
we
Oh, that's right. We
I was
won't be
gonna say
seeing you
we
next week.
won't see them next week, will we?
You're right. You're absolutely correct. We will not see you next week. So enjoy your time away from us. We will see you in 2 weeks.
Sounds good. Have a good weekend. Have a good holiday, everybody. Thanks for joining us.
In this code we play.